Welcome to this week's Contrarian Coding News. The prevailing discourse around emoji rot in code generated by LLMs predominantly frames it as a defect to be meticulously expunged, a symbol of semantic degradation, encoding failures, or syntactic pollution. This mainstream perspective champions an ideal of pristine, unambiguous, and perfectly machine-interpretable code. However, a truly disruptive, unorthodox, and perhaps rebellious counterview posits that emoji rot is not merely a bug to be fixed, but an emergent, anti-fragile feature and a critical semiotic frontier in the evolving co-creation between humans and large language models. Far from being an error, it could represent a hidden opportunity for innovation, a natural evolutionary pressure, or even a deliberate act of human-centric reassertion in the age of automated code generation. Here are three core arguments for this contrarian viewpoint. Emoji rot as computational pareidolia and an anti-fragile catalyst for system evolution. The dominant view treats emoji rot as a simple failure of an LLM to produce correct output. However, this dismisses the possibility that the rot is a form of computational pareidolia, where the LLM, in its vast, multimodal semantic space, is seeing or generating patterns, including emojis, sometimes in seemingly nonsensical contexts, that reflect complex, non-obvious correlations in its training data, or even attempting to express a nuanced layer of meaning beyond simple literal code. Instead of being an error, it could be a raw, unfiltered signal from the LLM's internal representation, revealing deeper, perhaps initially incomprehensible semantic linkages. Furthermore, embracing this rot as a form of noise or mutation aligns with principles of anti-fragility. Systems that are forced to contend with and even interpret unexpected or corrupted inputs become more robust and adaptable. Historically, the evolution of biological systems thrives on mutation. Similarly, digital systems can benefit from controlled perturbation. Think of chaos engineering, which intentionally injects failures to improve system resilience. Emoji rot, when viewed through this lens, is an unintentional yet potent form of chaos engineering for code generation pipelines, forcing LLMs, compilers, and human developers to develop more sophisticated and context-aware interpretation mechanisms. Systems that can gracefully handle and even leverage rotten emojis are not just more resilient, they are fundamentally more intelligent and adaptable to novel, unforeseen challenges. The wabi-sabi of code, reclaiming imperfection and human authorship. The relentless pursuit of clean code and perfectly optimized LLM-generated solutions can lead to a sterile, uniform, and potentially less expressive code base. This ideal of perfection inadvertently strips away the inherent human element of imperfection and unique flavor. The contrarian view suggests that emoji rot can be seen through the lens of wabi-sabi, the Japanese aesthetic embracing imperfection, transience, and incompleteness. A perfectly polished LLM-generated codebase might lack the soul or character that human interaction, including the introduction of emoji rot, can provide. In an era where LLMs can generate vast swaths of functional code, the rot can become a subtle, often unintentional, human mark on the generated output. When a human developer modifies LLM-generated code or intentionally inserts emojis, even those that might rot or break syntax in unexpected ways, it represents a new form of human-AI co-authorship. This isn't about control, but about a more complex, interwoven authorship, where the rot becomes a unique signature, a deliberate rejection of the dogma that LLM-generated code must be utterly pristine and devoid of human-like quirks. It's a rebellious act against algorithmic homogeneity, asserting human creativity and the value of idiosyncratic expression within the digital medium. Semantic divergence as a feature, unlocking new paradigms of code abstraction. The current mainstream approach assumes a fixed, unambiguous semantic for emojis within code. However, what if emoji rot is not an error in translation, but an indication of emergent, more fluid, or even multimodal semantic interpretations? Traditional programming languages are inherently rigid and symbolic. Emojis, by their very nature, are rich, contextual, and often ambiguous pictorial symbols. Their rot, or unexpected behavior in code, rather than being a failure, could be pushing the boundaries of what constitutes code. Consider the historical evolution of programming languages, moving from highly rigid, low-level machine code to more abstract, forgiving, and sometimes ambiguous high-level languages, e.g. dynamic typing, metaprogramming, and even domain-specific languages that blur the lines between code and natural language. Emoji rot could be the growing pains of a new, even higher-level abstraction layer, where visual, emotional, and cultural cues, represented by emojis, begin to integrate into computational logic. The rot might force us to rethink how compilers and interpreters understand context, leading to new parsing techniques that can infer meaning from seemingly disparate elements. Instead of eliminating semantic divergence, we could be studying it as a pathway to truly novel programming paradigms that embrace visual semiotics and human-centric expressiveness, moving beyond the purely textual. This approach fundamentally challenges the assumption that code must be solely textual and logically deterministic, opening doors to a future where code is more intuitive, culturally rich, and capable of expressing intent in ways we are only beginning to understand. And that wraps up another edition of Contrarian Coding News, where the status quo is always up for debate.